Hello there. This is why an insufficient number of electric vehicle charging points is being installed in the UK. The secret is out. The WEF openly says it wants to strip you of your car. Not that anyone who's been paying attention would call it a secret. And what I'm about to tell you is why an insufficient number of electric vehicle charging points are being installed, and also why car driving in general is made harder year after year, with more and more underutilised bus lanes and generally empty cycle lanes taking up more and more road space, while roads are being blocked and speed limits lowered. And as the WEF now runs the UK agenda, like it does that of most other countries, we can expect the Davos-loving Labour leader Keir Starmer to grasp this and force it down our throats at the first available opportunity. Remember, Starmer told Emily Maitlis earlier this year that he preferred Davos over Westminster. He likes the people there and how they do business. Westminster is too stifling and too difficult for him, and you'll see the dangers to us of that in a couple of minutes. And the only people who will be surprised at this news are those who either don't look too hard or those that believe, as a total truth, every pronouncement of their government, while throwing insults of conspiracy theorist at those who've been trying to warn them. Anyway, last month, the World Economic Forum, the WEF, let the cat out of the bag. It issued a new briefing paper under the Global New Mobility Coalition banner called the Urban Mobility Scorecard Tool, benchmarking the transition to sustainable urban mobility. And the paper was jointly written with Visa. Visa. Part of bringing banking and social credit scoring together, maybe? And the overarching message of this paper appears to be that there is no pathway to meeting the Paris Agreement climate goals without electrifying urban transport, growing shared transport use, and designing more compact cities. And part of that means you giving up your personal transport, your cars. Now, in 2022, there were about 1.45 billion cars on the planet's roads. But the WEF says this could hit 2.1 billion by 2050. 2050 being one of the two bogey years, the other being 2030. So the WEF wants to see that number reduce to 500 million cars, and over 75% reduction on projections globally. In September 2022, there were 33.2 million cars on the roads of the UK. To match that 75% drop would require a reduction down to just over 8 million cars. And these vehicles, it seems, would be shared, not owned by individuals. And this can be achieved, says the WEF, by growing the use of shared, electric, connected and automated transport modes, called SEAM for short. But that alone will not be enough to keep the WEF happy. On top of forcing us to use bikes and shoe leather instead of cars, to reach that global 500 million cars number would also require us, ordinary humans, to live in more compact cities, to make journeys shorter and make car driving harder. More compact cities, all designed to keep you as close as possible to your home. Caged would be a better term for it. Sounds more like a dystopian nightmare to me. In fact, the WEF sees 70% of the world's population living like that by 2050. That's only 27 years away. And they've put together a Global New Mobility Coalition, GNMC, to get the public and private sectors to work together to achieve it. and the GNMC seeks to form a synchronised transition towards this SEAM transport infrastructure, a system where it is easy to use many different types of transport without having to resort to private vehicles. And that's why we won't need anywhere near the number of charging points that people talk about. And I can't ever remember being asked to vote on it. We're all going to be expected to mostly walk, cycle and use mass public transport. I bet you'll need a special reason or a special position in life to try and hire a car for the day or be allocated the use of a car, especially as just a few days of car use will probably eat up your personal annual carbon or energy allowance or something similar. And when you try to travel to London for that protest, that'll be the day the technology somehow fails or the air quality is too bad so you can't even leave your local area. Either that or your socially scored credit or debit card bounces. Now, one of the things this WEF Global New Mobility Coalition, the GNMC that I talked about, has been doing is collaborating on this with 3 trial cities: Buenos Aires in Argentina, Curitiba in Costa Rica, and the island city-state of Singapore, with the next steps being to build more collaborations with new cities, where the city bigwigs, the private sector and the WEF all work together to make all of this a reality where you live. Do you reckon Sadiq Khan would love to join that to his C40 Cities programme? Do you think Keir Starmer will proffer other UK cities up for it? Or more likely get city mayors to do it? And that would explain this push for more city mayors too. And do you think you will get a vote on it? Or will some or other public consultation suddenly pop up out of the blue, a consultation for a plan to trap you in your local area? All for your good and the greater good, we'll be told. And by going from a WEF body direct to the cities, they bypass the entire Westminster system of democracy. And after the, as ever, low response to a public consultation comes along, they will just railroad it through anyway. And all Westminster has to do is provide the dosh after councils apply for it, saying that the public demands it, whether or not the public is actually in favour of it. Just look at Khan's ULEZ expansion public consultation and the report he commissioned that told him a ULEZ expansion wouldn't achieve his aims anyway. We are being led by the nose with neither a proper consultation nor proper democratic process into a future of living in a control cage. And that is the sole aim of it, control. That is their vision for you. Richard.
Is this a scene from Eyes Wide Shut? Or footage of some sort of sanitized satanic ritual? No, this is footage that was taken from the inside of Bristol Cathedral. It is the Climate Choirs doing a performance of, well, whatever it is, and clearly this is now deemed acceptable by the Church of England under Archbishop Justin Welby and King Charles, who is the Supreme Governor of the Church of England. Yes, they seem to think that this sort of thing is absolutely fine. But this is the same Justin Welby who implied that Jesus would have taken the thing that went into your arm, and apparently allowed a Masonic service in Canterbury Cathedral. The latter I cannot believe, because that would mean he is at odds with his own faith and no man can serve 2 masters. But then again, this is also the same King Charles who introduced the satanic Great Reset of the World Economic Forum to the world and brought in other faiths into his coronation. If you want to know where the Church of England stands today, then this video will give you a good idea. You don't have to be a Christian to see that something terrible is taking place in the church, as it makes its way for these demonic processions. Aside from the overtly satanic imagery used, why would the Church of England fall for this climate agenda when the Bible quite clearly points out to the earth having an expiration date, and man has no say in what date that will be? Do you think this sort of thing would have been allowed in the church just a few years ago? So why now? Why is everything seemingly leading to a crescendo in, say, 2030? Why that date? Why are we seeing the most sacred parts of our lives being replaced? It doesn't matter if you're a unionist or believe in independence. You should find it odd that the Union Jack and the flags of the individual nations that make up the UK have been replaced with another flag for 1 month. Churches have fallen prey to unbiblical ideologies, but for some reason, many other faiths have not compromised their beliefs to this agenda, especially one specific religion. Oh, there will be no colourful flags adorning their places of worship, and I very much doubt any climate choirs will be performing there. Anyway, what do you lot think about what Jeff and I have had to say in today's videos? Leave your murmurings and grumbles in the comment section below, and don't forget to tune in to our Jeff tomorrow at midday, and we will both see you again tomorrow at 7 p.m.